This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
This is Chef Casey Thompson, and you're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with Shawn Rosler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 135 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always this evening, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How is everyone doing this evening? You know, there are, to be sure, words that get thrown around in this industry. Words like sustainable. And there are titles that get tossed around without the respect they rightly deserve, like master. Those of you who've listened to these 5 years plus now know I hold such words in the highest regard as they pertain to culinary artisans. And tonight, I get to pull them back out of the drawer, dust them off, and layer them on thick. Tonight's guest is, in this host's opinion, nothing short of a living legend. An American seafood chef and early adopter of sustainable fishing practices, there are some who have labeled him the godfather of sustainability. A graduate of the CIA, tonight's guest has worked at such illustrious establishments as Le Côte Basque, Le Cirque, the Water Club, and Oceana, at which he became exec chef and partner. He would then go on to open RM in New York, earning 3 stars from the New York Times, and partner in the Greek establishment Molavos, which also earned 3 stars. 2 restaurants with 3 stars, no small feat, right? Our guest would then go on to walk away from New York in favor of Mandalay Bay and Vegas, heading up RM Seafood and RX Boiler Room, respectively. In and amongst the restaurants, and there's been news and happenings since, tonight's guest is a founding member of the Chefs Coalition, Seafood Choices Alliance, and a member of the Wildlife Conservation Society, also serving as a spokesman for American Caviar, a board member of the French Culinary Institute, a fellow of the CIA, and a contributing editor to Food and Wine magazine. Did we mention he damn near, in my opinion, should have won the 2nd season of Top Chef Masters? I think that's enough of an intro. Let's let the man himself fill us in on the rest. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, our guest this evening, the godfather of sustainability and living culinary freaking icon, the Chef Rick Moonen. Chef, how you doing this evening, buddy?
Shawn, you flabbergasted me. That's just technical. Thank you. I'm great. I'm fantastic. Cannot complain about a thing.
Excellent. I did that all in one breath. I want you to know that. That was
sounded like it. Holy smokes.
Oh, so great to have you here, man. I mean, you really embody sustainability and seafood all in one person. I can't wait to dig into the questions. Folks listening at home, new to the program, old to the program with shitty short-term memories like myself, starters, mains, and afters. You know the questions, kids. We're going to talk about where the chef came from. We're going to talk about where they're at. And we're going to throw some more irreverent questions out towards the end, but no one's been injured in 134 episodes, so I don't see that happening tonight. So without further ado, Chef Rick Moonen. God, that's weird for me to say. That's awesome. Tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
Oh, my goodness. My family moved around a lot. My father worked for a large company, and he was a manager that was always sent to a store that was underperforming, and he fixed it, and then the family moved on. I was born in Rochester, Minnesota, so technically I'm from the Midwest, and I lived in Lansing, Michigan. But we moved to New York, Flushing, in Queens, New York City. And that's where I really grew up. I mean, from first grade on. I mean, and so that's what influenced me. And I lived in a real melting pot of a neighborhood. And I was one of 7 children, you know, so we were 10 of us living in a house on 169th Street in Flushing, New York. And my mom worked, my father worked, so dinner was, put together when my mom got home. It was usually out of a, big cast iron pot. called it that pot because we had to clean it. It was heavy and it was dirty. So, but I learned to start cooking in that kitchen. That's where I started to take an interest in. My mom would keep me in the kitchen because I was so hyperactive, and she figured I'd be disassembling the television set with a screwdriver I found. So she kept me in the kitchen, like get in here, stir this, do that. And, it became science to me. I was intrigued by the things that changed and transformed before my eyes. Stirring chocolate pudding and it thickens before my eyes. That blew my, and I liked to eat. I was a little chubby at the younger age. Husky, I think was the word.
I wore the same size jeans, buddy. Huskies. I remember them well.
Huskies with Oxfords, going to Catholic school. It's crazy. And the type, it could be spaghetti and meatballs, fish. My mom Fridays was fish. It was very. That was the structure of our family. And so it could be from fish sticks to halibut burning under the broiler to salmon. Those are the three. Those are the trio. There wasn't a lot of diversity. There wasn't any culinary background in the family. No. It was just the dinner table was where everybody came together, and it was an important part of my life. It's where we were disciplined. It's where we spoke to each other. And everything was respected. And I think that's a generation that I grew up in. And I'm fortunate and privileged to have been in that situation in my life because I think it helped push me into the person I am today. So fast forwarding, I ended up going to the Culinary Institute of America. I wanted to be a dietitian because I like science and math. Okay, so I'm like, I'm going to figure this stuff out. Because I was working in a nursing home, I was in the kitchen, I saw all the stuff that was going on, all the moving parts excited me. And then when I went to culinary school, I fell in love with that, and so I became a chef. That's what I decided to do. Nice, man. And yeah. It was. This is 1976. I graduated in 78. Right. Going to an externship in Vermont. These are the things that I experienced. And then I stayed on at the school, and I worked with one of the master chefs there in the one restaurant that was serving the public called the Escoffier Room. Yep. And I got my butt kicked up and down, inside out, and backwards. This guy was called Boom Boom Bernard. Boom Boom, Boom Boom. He was like this giant of a man who was screaming, yell, and he didn't take anything lightly. And he taught me a tremendous amount, and he was my mentor. So
incredible. That's incredible. They say so many times that those who are hardest on you respect you most, and you gain the most from them. You think that's a fair statement with Boom Boom?
100%. Nice. Boom Boom was a walking encyclopedia. He knew more than any book on the shelf. I swear he had like a little thing he had in his back pocket. It was a blue little book that he had a few things written on. I don't know what. He never needed any ratios or anything. He just put stuff together. Puff pastry, or he liked to really get you ready for through the industry. He gave, because if you went through his class, you were more ready for a pretty rough industry, tough hours, tough everything, and so his tough love really got you ready. But that all kind of faded away ultimately in culinary schools because kids were complaining to their parents were complaining to to the principal, so it just, these guys, they got rid of the guys that were tough on their students because it wasn't acceptable behavior.
Yeah, and I think 5+ years doing this, I've worked on a couple lines. Just I have no training whatsoever. It was in college. I'm cooking to make a living. But there's these two schools of thought that I find battle more now than ever, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I understand that maybe that like Marco Pierre White style of like ball bashing to the point where someone's ready to jump off the roof versus, coddling, ass wiping and all that. Like, is there a middle ground? Is there one that's better than the other? Have we maybe found the happy medium in today's culinary landscape?
I'm going to say back in the day more. Mm-hmm. I was always more of a pat on the back, kick in the ass kind of guy. Yeah. And I would work people. I'd go up to this one girl worked for me named Tracy. She's a sweetheart of a girl, and she was great culinary. She was a cuisinier. This was at Oceana in New York City. And I'd go up to her and say, "Hey, Tracy, I got something for you." "Nah, never mind." And she'd be like, What? I got to stop myself short in a sentence to her. Like, "I got something real good." "Nah." And she's like, "Nah, forget it. It's too hard. It's too heavy. You forgot the rondo. It's too heavy." "What?" And she would just outperform everybody. Nice. Like nobody's business. There's no reason to be mean, nasty, and bullying and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Playing around, creating a fraternity, Yeah, there was some fun pranks, of course, and there's 100 stories. Heck, I'll get David Burke on here with me one day, and you better have a couple hours because boy, they never stop coming.
Jesus, and kids listening at home, he just randomly drops David Burke like I'm not going to react to that. All right, that's awesome.
No, David's awesome.
Yeah. But again,
we get together, and it's just my face hurts from laughing.
That's
my face.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you know who Waldy Malouf is, but he's another tremendous chef.
Damn.
He runs all the restaurants for all the campuses of the Culinary Institute of America.
That's incredible.
And we're the OGs, And the three of I get bored, and I'm because going through this pandemic stuff. Yeah. So I get on the phone with these two, and I'm not kidding you. I can't believe it. It's so hysterical.
That's awesome.
Stuff has to be recorded.
That's awesome. And people outside of the industry, and I'm not saying I'm in the industry, and I know I comment on this all the time. I'm lucky enough to have this show. I'm lucky enough to talk to just amazing human beings. Beth Aretsky, Michael Partis from CIA, Hyde Park. Right. Beth actually co-hosted my 100th live show here in Bloomsburg, and there's no pretense, and I think that's what's the most beautiful thing about anybody who is true to form in this industry. There is absolutely no ego, because like you said about getting your ass kicked up, down, sideways, all that, I think that takes the ego out of you early, does it not?
Oh yeah, it knocks the wind out of your sail. Absolutely. And you do feel like you're part of a team, a real fraternity, Yeah. And I mean it's very militant. Yeah. And I'm not saying, all things militant are perfect, but it's that whole break you down, build you up, and now you're in, and now you're untouchable because you're one of us. That mentality is not as apparent in our industry as it used to be. Yeah. And that's a pity. Because that's how cuisine was driven. That's how food trends, really start to get movement to it. Like in New York City, I grew up at a time where we moved a lot of nobody was eating fish medium rare at all. I mean, it was all casseroles. It was out of Betty Crocker. It was terribly overcooked fried food. That's all it was. Right. It was carnival food, man. And so now fish started getting treated better and was respected, and sushi restaurants started to gain in popularity. And so there's a true mentality and movement in cuisine that I got to experience. And in order for that to continue along some sort of continuous path of improvement or change, doesn't matter how you want to say what was better than others, it needs to have that sense of ownership and pride. Yep. And other than just having a hodgepodge, spin the wheel, mix a couple of cuisines, and maybe you got something going there, buddy.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I feel you 100%. I think it was Bourdain who made the analogy to the pirate ship, and it feels like that. It feels like there's that true camaraderie. I actually, speaking of Partis and Beth, when I first started talking to Beth, I interviewed her a couple times for the show, and she's like, "Hey, you still got your knife roll?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "Why don't you come over to the Hudson Valley and why don't you guest chef a gig with us?" I'm like, "Are you fine?" All right, sure. I jump in my car. I drive 3 hours. We're up prep until 3 a.m. We get up 6 a.m., drive to the site. And honest to God, Rick, it was the delusionally happiest 48 hours of my life. Yeah. And I think that's where it bites you. Even if you're not in it, when you can dip your toe in it, holy shit. It's amazing.
Yeah, all right. You want a story tell? I mean, this is...
Yeah, of course.
This is 1988, July 4th. So it's now July 3rd. We prep all day at the River Cafe, Burke and the crew and myself. I'm a volunteer. The reason is I'm doing espionage because the boat, the Trump Princess, it was the Trump Princess, believe it or not. That was the boat that we did this, and it was just like all kinds of celebrities and people on this boat. There was only one place that they could pull it up, and it was at the Water Club, the sister restaurant to the River Cafe, right? So I'm about to become executive chef of the Water Club, or making a decision to do it. So I get to see the kitchen, see the operation, and really walk around, and no one's going to question it because we're infiltrating. There's like 25 of us, it's like crazy. But we were up for 48 hours doing this. And I'm talking about glass mirrors with presentations, lobsters splayed out, just like the presentations you'd see in, the cooking competitions at the Javits Center. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, but I mean, that's what it was. It was unbelievable. 48 hours. I remember walking out of there. I had my toolbox in my hand. I'm walking down the street in New York, 4th of July, hot as hell. And I'm just, like I'm drunk. I can't even walk straight. And we weren't drinking. It was insane.
That's amazing. God, if you were drinking, you certainly wouldn't have lasted. I'm sure that would have been just a whole other layer of complexity.
Maybe. I don't know. Just maybe.
maybe, just maybe. Who knows? But God, and see, like those are the stories. Like I love picking through like the backstory because, like, for me, even somebody really interested in it, like I came to know you from Top Chef Masters, but like they show none of the backstory, which I think is so intriguing. And hearing just about something as simple as that cast iron pot that your mom was working with, like how much of an influence was that? Was her keeping you in the kitchen to getting you to where you are today? That's got to be the connection, right?
100%.
Okay.
And it's funny. I never really thought of like how much, but very early on in your life, you're figuring out what is exciting you and what is boring you.
Yeah.
And I got bored pretty quick. My attention span was 2 seconds. I couldn't even look you in the eye. It's looking behind you. And so, my mom's influence on me, the flavors, the smells, always, everybody gathered in, in the kitchen. That's where we hung out. We were always in the kitchen, and that was the heart of the house. That was where the heartbeat of the home was, and where we were disciplined. We laughed, we cried. Everything happened there. It had to have a 50% influence on who I am today and where I went with my career.
Unreal.
Yeah, pretty wild, right?
Yeah, I mean, really.
When I said there was a lot of ethnicities in my neighborhood too. Yeah. I mean, there's, I'm just going to say it like this because we were kids. There's the Greek family across the street. There's the Jewish family on the corner. There's the Italians over there. There's the Irish. Other Italians. Every ethnicity. And I had a paper route. And it was across the tracks, on the other side of the tracks. It was the bad side. But it was 3 apartment buildings, real easy paper route. All indoors, freezing outside, you're indoors. You're dropping papers in front of people's doors in an apartment building. Right. But when I went to collect on Fridays to get my, make your collection, the smells that would come out of these open doors, it could be Indian and it could be, and I was just like snorting it. After a while, I recognized what floor it was on from. The garlic. Of course, you got garlic on this floor. And I mean it. And it wasn't conscious. I wasn't conscious of it. Yeah. It was just, what was forming yourself. And ultimately, what makes you good as a cook in a kitchen is all of your senses get honed, including your sense of hearing. I mean, to open an oven door and hearing the crackling of fat in there, the temperature of it. The feel of a puff of hot air hitting your face, bouncing off my glasses. The smell, the sound. I mean, we used to make brown butter sauces in pans. You saute a piece of Dover sole, you take it out, you put in the first chunk of butter, and when the butter stopped making noise, that's when you squeezed lemon in it. You didn't have to look at it. You could turn around and get your plate ready while you're still listening, and you just whisk around with that lemon in your hand, squeeze it in, it's still foaming, you pour it over the top, and out it goes. And that, started somewhere. And they say, you can't just roast a rack of lamb, after 200 you do, and that's when you got it down. Yep. And you learn everything about it to make it get to that point. You learn all the thing that was probably the best advice that I could ever give anybody that I always did. I taste everything, no matter what. From the very beginning through the middle, I'm constantly tasting it, so that I have a set of references now. I have a roadmap to make a left here, make a right there. That's normal. Don't worry. It's bitter now, but it gets better when you add that. Right. You know what's going on. My wife right now, she's got a tremendous palate, better than mine, I would say. No, really.
That's awesome.
I'm going to be 64. Whatever. Things start to slow down. So I have her taste something, and if she knows, she'll taste a piece of mint that got when accidentally dropped in there, and you pulled it out anyway. She'll taste it, and so I will use hers. She'll say, that's salty. I'm like, good. It's supposed to be salty. That's what, it performs a function. And, and it gives me a lot of, ways to bounce things off. I mean, okay, presently.
Yeah.
And I talk to you my whole life about my past, etc. But currently, I'm the master development chef for Perry's Restaurants.
Yeah,
This is a Houston-based company that has steakhouses, have them for 40 years. They've had, they're family-owned, started as two butcher shops in, South Texas, and those butcher shops are still open to this day. And Chris Perry, the patriarch, well, not the patriarch, his dad started the butcher shops, but Chris, the son, is built several Perry's Steakhouse and Grill. Now, so I'm in the steakhouse business. I was sustainability mister, Now I'm doing steaks and stuff. But I do all the development in my kitchen, in my house. Created an entire new concept with him as well. It's called Carve. We opened it up in Austin in December. You couldn't get in. 5:30. There's a line at the door.
Nice.
But I do everything here at my home. I'm burning wood in my pizza oven. I got a barbecue. I got everything, and I am just never ever been happier. Just being able to do things like this. Being involved with other small things on the side as well. I'd say. There's a online culinary school called Ruby, like flour and butter, ROUX,
nice.
BE. Now, they've been around for 15 years. They're translated in 4 different languages, and they've got all the kinks built out of the systems, and this company's really doing well now because of there's a lot of need for online education, culinary movement forward. Things have come to a standstill because of social distancing. And who knows, So this company's building, and I'm their Dean of Innovation, and I'm just new on there. And I go on, I do a couple of live events a month, just like this one, and students will write in questions, will answer questions. Like sometimes it'll be a subject that we're discussing and a topic, or sometimes it's just open, just anything that's on your mind. What do you want to know about? Talk to me. Stump the chump.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on, baby. Bring on your questions.
That's incredible, man. I mean, my background, my profession, whether you realize it or not, Rick, isn't being a podcaster. My profession is e-learning, and so hearing this, I think we're navigating this new normal of how do we take an in-person experience, and I mean, culinary education has got to be a weird one to get your head around, and yet it sounds like you're already doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of metrics to and ways of following how a student's progressing. And the thing of it is, it's not, you don't have to commit to you're not getting a diploma and an Associate of Occupational Studies. You're getting, you can create your own curriculum. You can take some curriculum, and then they are recognized by ACF, et cetera. And there's our credits towards all the chef titles that have all the letters after them. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about. But they're not expensive. You can just take them in pieces and see if it's what's for you. Or if you have to commit to going to a culinary school, here you go in and you can start to really find a passion in a certain area. I mean, the area that's growing the fastest is plant-based.
Yeah.
Just like crazy, plant-based.
Yep.
And globally, and it's just, everybody wants to know more about it. That's great. And, and throughout this pandemic, because I'm an environmentalist, the environment's just been getting healthier and healthier, which excites me as well. To see what is down the road for us all. There's going to be a different formula. It's going to have to work differently, and we're all going to be just fine. I'm not worried about that, especially if you're dedicated to doing what you're doing and you're good at what you do.
Damn straight. Yeah. And I'm just now, Chef, checking out Ruby.com, ROUXBE.com, the cooking school, and it is amazing. I mean, it is exactly everything you would expect. Like if you were ever going to jump from in-person to online, this is everything I needed to be. World's leading online culinary school with over 300,000 students across the globe. That's no small number.
No, this is a quality. This is real. This is the top. This cream of the crop, man. That's the way I look at it.
Incredible.
If you really, if you want to get a curriculum, a flat-out curriculum, you have to follow this every single day, and this is what you get. That's a different road. This is, to me, more realistic to what is necessary for someone to be successful in our industry today. And if you are already enrolled in a culinary curriculum and you have an instructor, those instructors can be the ones that are watching and grading over you through Ruby. Ruby's just a platform. It's not like by our and it's forever changing and reinventing itself and adjusting to the needs of whomever wants to use the services. So I got, through my career, a couple of connections. So I'm trying to hook some people up. I'm trying to say, hey, this would be really good for you guys.
Yeah. Oh my God, for sure. And then just to kind of sidestep here, and I definitely want to get back to Rick Moonen, the chef, but perrysrestaurants.com gives you the overview, and wow, what humble beginnings in '79 to what it looks like it is all about now.
Oh man, it's a company that has incredible integrity, the infrastructure, the culture that is, within a company of that that capacity. It's a breath of fresh air. And there's the owner, there's me. I work directly with Chris Perry and myself, and we just enjoy each other's company. And his birthday's 2 days from mine. We're both crazy Virgos. What can I tell you?
Nice.
So it's dangerous and it's fantastic.
All at the same
dangerous
time.
in the best possible ways.
That's incredible. That is just. Seriously, and I would, as a fan of yours, Chef, expect nothing less than it to be like literally top of the line, integrity, all over the place, and you align with that. And I just think that's awesome. So, back to Rick Moonen, the chef,
right.
Obviously you're plugged into these groups, you're plugged into this amazing landscape. In a day and age where COVID, I've done 3 panel talks now with former Top Chefs, restaurateurs, all these, and, everyone's kind of singing the blues, and it seems like you're blooming out there. Where are you finding inspiration for what you do? Where do you look to? Where does Chef Rick Moonen find inspiration to continue to reinvent and to better?
I just keep, one of my goals is I'm trying to break out of the 3 protein box.
Okay.
Okay, so is it a triangle? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 protein triangle. So, so let's get, I don't want anybody criticizing my ability to know shape and size and numbers of sides. So anyway, there's, of course, there's chicken, pork, and beef, and that's it. I'm trying to cook with bison and do a lot of experimenting with sous vide, breaking down proteins at the proper temperature and then searing them and getting that rich, delicious flavor, different game birds and all this kind of stuff. And we've been trying this for years, but I think the need and we live in a time of real deep introspect, folks. There's a ton of unrest. And this unrest is going to find an end. It's not going to last forever. This kind of unrest can't last forever, no matter how could escalate and get 10 times worse, but it's going to end. Yep. And I'm talking about that moment when there's going to be a ton of introspect and how you eat and where you eat and all those things and how it's delivered and how you interact to other human beings, which is a necessity.
Yep.
Come on. Even a mask, man. You're taking away a point of communication. You can't see the smile or anything. It's hard. But we're going to deal with this.
Yeah, we got to stay the course.
So these visors are, who knows, maybe that's something of the future, right? But at least you can see the person, so I just rambled on and forgot what my point was. Where were we? I'm sorry, Shawn.
No.
Where's the bookmark on the conversation here?
I got it right here. No. Just that, like, where do you? Because you've been inspired all these. You almost freaking won Top Chef Masters too. Where are you getting inspiration from? Like, a lesser man would have been just tapping out by now, but you just keep doing it.
I have an insatiable hunger for learning different cuisines, flavors, and combinations thereof. Don't remember them all. Believe me, I don't write down jack. Doing a cookbook was the hardest thing ever. I just keep reinventing myself. I'm like, I don't know. Where's the recipe? I don't know. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll make another one. And that's continuous. And that sometimes is it forces you. Necessity is the mother of invention, And I always surround myself with as many. And this drives my wife nuts. Flavor combinations, textures, flavors, and my spice cupboard is. I don't think there's any spices I don't have. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I just look at what do I want to do? Okay, I want something earthy, and the flavors now. I've been working with them for a long time, and if there's something new, I just get it. See what that tastes like. Yep. You want salt? I got all kinds of ways of getting salt. Throughout this pandemic, I've been just experimenting with fermentations. Mm-hmm. I have a vacuum seal machine, with professional one from my restaurant, and it's in my house. So I just, the big guy, you shut the door and everything gets sucked out of it. I'm taking all kinds of, lactobacillus, fermentations and, making, plums and apricots and stuff from my backyard. And, and then I'm making koji, to find out how that reacts to meats and different meats. And so how do I stay inspired? I mess around with everything, man. Okay. I'm not afraid. Don't be afraid to mess around with stuff.
And see, isn't that the biggest, and I mean, you're going to know this a hell of a lot better than me, but isn't that one of the biggest hurdles to getting people in the kitchen to begin with? To just let them be okay with failure. Failure is always an option.
Everybody understands something. Everyone's had something so delicious that their mind blew up. If you're a foodie,
yeah.
There's the category of people that just eat to live, and then they're just boring, and who cares? So I don't want to talk to them. No, I'll talk to them. I mean, as long as they'll pay for the food I'm serving.
Exactly.
No, but there's those that have tasted something amazing, and it's so easy. The formula is not that difficult. We know we've been to science class. We've seen the tongue come out with the salt, sweet, sour, bitter. And then umami. Now that's it. Now everything falls into some of these categories. The idea is to balance it to the point where you've created the perfect balance, and it's a party in your mouth. With a cocktail, with anything, it's not that hard. And everything else just becomes more and more interesting. You're getting more and more colors that you get to paint with your, as if you're an artist. However you want to look at it. Every time you get another spice, play around with it.
Exactly.
Put it in something. Taste it. Herbs, spices, who knows? And you find out what just totally doesn't work, man.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. I mean, you're not going to break anything. You can't break it. By the way, for those of you at home looking to learn more about the genius that is Rick Moonen, Fish Without a Doubt is available on Amazon.
Thank you.
Still, Fish Without a Doubt, The Cook's Essential Companion hardcover, on sale actually right now. So I would go out and check that out for sure. But I mean, point proven, chef. You can't break it. You can only try and like or not like, and then you learn more about your palate, you learn more about your style, and then you're less from a book and more from the heart.
Yeah, and of course there's more to it. There's textures, and you always hear that come up whenever there's a critic, talking about foods. The crunch of this, the texture of that,
yep.
the creaminess of that. Everything has a texture, and it becomes so personal what we do. All you got to do is really love what you do and take it personally. Just take it personally. Don't worry about it. You're going to get offended sometimes, but just take it personally. Because when the good stuff, the rewards, when you take it personally, it's just so overwhelmingly more positive, and it leaves a bigger impression on your emotional psyche.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I was actually just talking to a restaurateur friend. He was actually the guest on the 4th episode of the show, and we're at 135 now. And he's going through a potential opening and everything now that's going on. And I will never forget cooking chicken cacciatore for him and his husband when they came over to the house. And I remember sweating bullets, thinking, "Holy shit, I'm going to be under a microscope. This is going to be the word." And he loved it. And it was, again, just that try. You either fail and try again, or you succeed and you try again anyway. It's
put your heart into it and don't burn it. Come on.
That's it. Don't burn it.
Taste it. Keep tasting it. Maybe this needs more salt. What do you think? You think it needs more salt? Yeah, I do. Okay, good. I'm putting more salt.
Put some more salt on it.
Maybe, you know what? What do you think? Maybe put a little fish sauce in there. That'll really open it up. Oh, smokes. Yeah, there's clams in there. A little fish sauce. That's like anchovies. Of course. You're making a tartare. Use fish sauce. You just have to understand what food is. You have to understand what the ingredients are. Where do they come from? What are they made out of?
Yeah.
Understand it. And then you'll have a endless list of things to pull from to add your flavors and everything. You want crunch, and then just don't cook it.
Yep.
Just use the cabbage raw. It's nice and crunchy. Great.
Exactly. No, I have to, because I think you and I are both story guys. After the 100th show, I pack up my gear, I come back. Everyone's partying in the kitchen. Again, kitchen is where everybody hangs out. And Chef Pardis is there, and he comes up to me, and this is like 1 a.m. He goes, "Do you have any fish sauce?" I'm like, "What? What are you asking me for fish sauce?" He's like, "I just need some fish sauce for this." And I would have never considered adding it to it. Do you know we keep about 2 bottles stocked now on the regular because of that genius? Like, And it does. But again, it was only when I got the hour-and-a-half lecture at, 1:30 in the morning drinking whiskey about what fish sauce is and why it matters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Learn. Just learn.
Exactly.
Have liquid aminos around. Have fish sauce around. Have really good vinegar. Like good apple cider vinegar. Just don't use the cheap stuff. No. And just start having fun.
That's it.
Those things will wake up. Listen, man, there's nothing that Parmesan cheese can't fix. Okay?
Damn straight.
Write that down. Put more Parmesan. Just put more Parmesan. It'll be fine.
Just put more Parmesan on it. It'll be
Save
fine.
your ass. But it's a chocolate souffle. Shut up. Put it on there. They're going to love it.
Absolutely. So, all right. So we know who you are. We stand in awe of it. I want to know your opinions on a couple things because the landscape is changing. Obviously, it's changing for some reasons in our control and not in our control. But food is always about the big thing and the next big thing. So, Rick, what do you take as the next big thing in food? Like right now, especially with COVID considered, what's going to be that next trend?
Damn. Shit.
Because I know before this hit, and I'll actually give you a little bit of a hint. I had 5 guests straight say fast casual, and I'm like, yeah, that's a really good point. I think people are...
Yeah, okay. Well, everything's getting redefined, so I don't want to jump into a kitschy category. I'm going to be more descriptive about the cuisine.
Nice.
It does have to be more rustic. It's got to be more connective with the comfort food level. Now, doesn't mean it's got to all be fast casual either. But I imagine there's going to be more places that you go into. You sit at a booth, you pick your own booth, and you just someone walks up to the counter and orders it, and then you get a number and they bring it to you. That kind of service, there's going to be a lot of evolution of that kind of stuff. I think we're going to start using lesser cuts a little bit more effectively, maybe offal, maybe. I'm hoping that this can become more into the cuisine, rustico, if I had to put a name on it.
Mm-hmm.
I want that. I want that every single day of my life. I don't care. I do like Mexican cuisine, but there's a lot of that too. There's a lot of rustic Mexican cuisine. There's a lot of rustic Indian cuisine. There's a lot of rustic Italian, French, Spanish. You name it. There's the there's the lady, there's the mother with stirring the pot in the back of the for family meal that's making the best food.
Damn straight.
So
oh yeah,
that's the kind of food, and it's going to be creative, and it's going to be presented in creative ways. And I'm afraid there's going to be a lot more delivery, pickup, takeout. I don't think that's going to go away. I don't think it's going to become the mainstream.
Yeah.
You can't, but let's face it. Right now, that's what's kept a lot of people alive.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And there were some colleagues from Top Chef who, had restaurants. Hosea Rosenberg. I actually saw a cool picture of you, Stefan, and Hosea together. And I just had Hosea back on, and his Black Belly is doing a mercantile. Rather than they're taking their restaurant front, changing it over into hey, we're doing butcher service. We're doing this. It's the age of having to be nimble. So, yes. but that rustic, that awful, I don't think people understand, and I don't certainly compared to you, Chef, but, that rustic vibe, we have a timeshare in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I love going down into town, into the Mercado, and just walking around the back streets, and where they're making chicharron in the streets in a big-ass black cast iron kettle. And I could just sit there all day and just crunch.
Yeah, and watch the iguanas fall down on your head.
Exactly. But I would love to see a turn back to the rustic, to the awful, to the more creative, taking the rougher bits and making something happen out of them. So often though with these trends though, there's negative trends, and there's probably negative trends that are happening right now. Any trends in the culinary scene right now, Rick, that you'd want to see just go away?
That's a good question, because I was just dreaming about how it always goes back to comfort food, no matter what.
Right.
And I'm a romantic, and I just think that this is our time. Now's our chance. We've been wanting this. We wanted this to become the mainstream way that America ate. Really good, well-made, well-constructed soup, stews, salad, everything. Just great food. What's bugging me? I'm stalling right now because I don't have an immediate answer.
No, and that's good. I mean, you're a positive guy, so you're not maybe as bitter and salty as I can be, about shit like molecular and
I'll tell you what I hate. I hate Thai restaurants that feel as though they got to put a fucking cup of sugar in goddamn everything. All right?
I knew I'd get it out of you.
I'm sorry. Are we allowed to curse on this?
Absolutely. There's no FCC here.
No,
buddy.
so I just, that just makes me sick to my stomach. They have so much potential. They got all the great ingredients, and they think that because it's America, they're dumping ketchup on their food because they're thinking that's the better. And maybe it sells better in certain markets. I don't care, man. Give me the real deal. If I want a green papaya salad, I want it to be spicy. I want it to be a lot of lime, because it's supposed to be pounded sour. It's supposed to be. Anyway, refreshing, delicious.
Yeah, man.
So I guess, if anything, that's one of my pet peeves is just people that wrap baked potatoes in aluminum foil need to be shot. There's no reason for that. If you roasted a beet and you do that, that's good. That's smart.
My God.
Baked potatoes got a great skin. You're messing it up. What's wrong with you?
All right, hang on just a minute. I'm just making a side note to throw my aluminum foil out.
Wait, those little squares you got, that whole box there? Come in.
Oh, no. No. And I'll tell you what, from the couple restaurants I worked in, we had that big ass box of them, those little prefab squares, and they never fit the goddamn things. Because they'd completely just put them around, they gotta fit, they gotta wrap it all up. I'm like, they don't fit. Anyway.
You're steaming them. You're just steaming them.
You're just steaming them inside the foil. No, you're right. So, and I mean, career-wise, this is typically when I posit the question of, what's next for you, chef. But I mean, it sounds like the Perry's Restaurant, development chef thing is awesome and it's on fire, and you just are going to run with it until the wheels come off.
Shawn, I've always wanted to teach. I've always had the conversation internally that at the end of my career, when I can no longer stand at the stove and stuff, and how I define winning is, I wake up one morning, I'm making an omelet and I drop dead. Perfect. I win.
Damn straight.
Because that's what I want to do. But retire, I want to teach. I love what I do. I have a great passion for sharing information for people who want to learn. I don't want to be in a program where people are like, shit, I don't want to. I'll make it interesting for you, but I want you to be hungry. I was always hungry. Always. Yeah. I'm still always hungry. My wife fights me for food. She's afraid that if she doesn't eat it, I'm going to eat it. I grew up in a family of 7. I was always afraid I wasn't getting enough food. And to this day, I've just got to devour it.
You just got to get in there, get after it.
Yeah.
Dude, and that's such a, that's such a tie between to how I know you as a chef, how I watched you compete and everything like that. And goddamn, I'm again, just I can't believe that the fortune to actually talk to you, to actually ask these questions. I've got just a couple more afters questions. They're a little bit more irreverent, kind of to get.
You wanted to ask me if Jay Rayner was an asshole, didn't you?
Sure.
Never mind, just kidding. Go ahead.
But yeah, just a couple more questions, just to really get to know who Rick Moonen is in a little bit more of an irreverent way. So, if you're ready, here we go. I'm standing in your kitchen cooking with you. What music do I hear playing?
Well, it depends on the era of my existence. We used to rock out Led Zeppelin, man.
Nice.
We get the lead out, crank it up, big yellow boombox, Chelsea Central, cranking it with me, Jerry Hayden, a bunch of us just cooking up kick-ass food, burning wood in a grill that wasn't designed to burn wood. And we didn't care because it tasted better.
Exactly.
Nobody was going to arrest us. Buying mushrooms from somebody who didn't have a license to pick them. They were wild and delicious.
Nice.
So Led Zeppelin. It's, and I'm not Marco Pierre White, crazy guy.
Yeah.
Burn your hands. That's what you're supposed to do when you wrap pasta around a fork, shut up, eat a pussy. That's not,
Yep.
That mentality isn't the level of it, but,
It takes you back, though, to hear that. I'm sure that, if you hear Led Zeppelin now, it's got to put you back in that kitchen.
100%. 100%. But it was only during prep time. During service, we didn't have music. I didn't have music
you had to be
playing.
quiet. Yep.
No, you're hearing you can't hear the leg of lamb. You can't hear the rack of lamb.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They can't hear the butter stop making noise when time they have wedding.
Understood.
So it's got to be, and there's that respect. I mean, I'm talking to the point where, putting a tablecloth on top of the pickup station so the bottom of the plate was cleaned. If you had white tablecloths in your restaurant, the little details that set you apart, and it's really just tiny little details that make you great. It's easy to be good, and there's a lot of good out there, but to be great, it's just paying attention to the tiny little details that show a customer, it gives them an emotional shift in the way that they judge their experience, and it's little tiny things, and so. That is another thing that's super important. I learned that from a lot of great people. Sirio Macchione that I worked with at Le Cirque. Even Jean-Louis Paladin, an amazing chef. Just watching him, you're doing an event, he's got a dish, and you're all prepping your dish. I'm doing the squab, he's got the foie gras dish, and somebody else has got something else, And he usually does the soup. He usually did a soup with foie gras in it, chestnut soup with foie gras. That was God! That was his drop dead. Drop the mic, bite me. And he would take before the event would start, he would finish a bowl of the soup, garnish it exactly as it was going to be, go into the room where they're going to be eating with the lights set to the level in which it would be when they were eating, and see what he could do better or different. He went to the customer's interaction with the food, because you're in the neon stainless steel environment when you're creating and putting out these dishes, and everything to you is like you're yelling at the waiter, don't let that tower of potatoes on top of that hamburger slide, whatever. Doesn't matter. Your garnish that if you breathe on it, it's going to blow off. They want to expect you to deliver perfectly. No, he would put himself in the customer's position. And that was something I trained culinary students all the time. If you're doing a pastor d'oeuvre at a cocktail reception, all right, because it depends. Is it a sit down? Is it a stand up? These people are standing up. They're in their really nice clothes. It's a cocktail reception. Guys are in jackets and ties or tuxedos, and ladies are dressed in nines. They got a drink in one hand, probably, if they're, being social. Right. And so now around comes the tray. They've got one hand.
Yep.
One hand. And they have to consider whether that's going to break in that hand and drip and fall on their dress or shirt or whatever.
Yep.
So the greatest food in the world gets untouched at cocktail receptions because you didn't think it through.
Exactly.
You got to make it easy for them. Suddenly, your stupid wonton, your Tex-Mex wonton wrappers that just suck. Everybody's eating because they can pick them up with one hand. Meanwhile, the other thing that someone painstakingly, was putting tiny little pieces of caviar on, but it's going to slide off.
Oh my God!
So much of it is common sense, Shawn. That's what I'm trying to say.
But again, like you said, Chef, it's good versus great. Good, sure, it'll taste good. How the hell are you going to eat it? Great is it tastes good and you can eat it and you can do so conveniently. Right. Unbelievable. All right. Next after question, I'm going to transport you to a deserted island. Hypothetically, of course. And you can only take 3 foods or food type items with you. Type items being like, beverages, condiments, that kind of thing. Limitless supply, but only 3. What would they be and why?
Well, I'm on an island. I guess I can get salt. I definitely want salt. I gotta have seasoning.
See, there's the thinker. The greatest thinkers go right to that and realize that. Awesome.
Well, because it preserves things too.
Exactly.
You can cure. So that's super important. And sugar. No kidding. No, you can find sweetness. It's in so many different places.
Yep.
All right. So salt.
Yep.
Damn. What else do I need? I guess I need something I can't make. Vinegar? No. I want some acidity, but there should be citrus on a desert island.
Absolutely.
I know this is well drawn out, but I don't want to waste two wishes from the genie on this. I only get 3 wishes. And
That's right.
First thing that pops into your head. What else can I not live without?
You are the godfather of sustainable seafood, so I think you're in good shape there. I'm just going to say. You have the ocean.
You know what? No, I want limitless bait, okay? So I want to have the best the squid.
Nice.
I tell you, man, you catch catch anything with squid.
Yep.
And so now because now you're not standing with a stick looking like an idiot trying to poke a fish through the angle of refraction, and reflection, and all this crazy stuff.
Exactly.
You know, you just got to now. I want a fishing hook, obviously. I don't know if I don't want it to be one of the three things.
I'll give that to you. That's fine.
You'll throw me a hook?
In. Yeah.
All
I
right,
got you.
Good. All right, so that would be it. So good bait, salt, and ammunition to shoot things with.
Ammo. I'm gonna put it on there. Perfect.
Yeah, well, a weapon of some sort to take down game.
This is what I love about that question. And again, 135 episodes in, I think I can start to make some judgments. The more seasoned, experienced expert chefs have the least food-centered items. Like, people will go side of bacon and this and that. Freaking Rick Moonen's like, yeah, salt, bait, and ammo. Bitches. Okay.
Yeah, you can make anything else. Right?
Exactly.
I'm raising chickens in my backyard right now. The HOA doesn't know about it.
No.
I got a rooster. Turns out a she became a he.
Oh
man, but I love it. You know why? Grow your own food, raise your own food, harvest your own food, learn how to do it.
Oh.
I mean, sorry, I'm going to gross people out, but this year I've harvested a live goat, a live sheep.
It's awesome.
Lamb, and I've got chickens growing. I need to become self-sufficient. So that question to me, as long as I can have some knives and a couple of hooks, I can pretty much figure out how to make a line to catch fish and put a hook on it, put squid on there, whatever. But I think I'd be okay.
Yeah.
I think I could capture water, etc.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're off onto the livestock. We really started hammering the garden last year, and I'll have to text you a picture of our garden this year. But I'll tell you, I just had Stephen Reichlin on from Project Smoke, and my garden last year, I created a smoked hot sauce from it, and I don't know whether I'm wrong or right. I had the balls to send him the recipe for it, so I don't know.
He's going to put in his book. He's going to make $1 million. Good job.
Well, he's actually working on a veg-centric book, so I don't know. Maybe that was my end. Who knows?
Could be. What I was trying to say, though, the point was, when you grow your own things, like this year, I could tell you stories, man. I don't know how much time we got. But
we got all the time in the world, man.
Okay, so I got neighbors. I live in an area. There's a lot of horse ranches and stuff around where I live. I live northwest Las Vegas, and it's beautiful. And I got a pretty good sized backyard, less than an acre. It's plenty of room for and everything. And I've got an irrigation system, so I'm damned if I'm going to be watering some pretty plant that doesn't give me food.
That's right.
Damn it, you're going to give me food. And I do compost, and I constantly try to nurture and nourish the. This. You're in the desert here, so you have to make sure that you're balancing things. And I didn't know. Nitrogen. My neighbor's got chickens. Okay, give me some chicken shit.
Yep.
So I get a bunch of chicken shit. This is a funny story. My wife likes to tell it. She makes me tell it. So I get all this chicken shit from Darlene. That's a bunch of horses and stuff. And I put it in a pillowcase to make chicken shit tea to use it as fertilizer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm punching it down and the bag ripped open, so I got chicken shit stew. I had to abort mission and get rid of it. I killed an apple tree because of all the nitrogen in it. And 3 years later, this year, the whole area that I had to I had to get rid of the results of my experiment. We had so much stuff growing up out of nowhere, just out of the rocks. Out of the rocks, I had a crop of arugula, Swiss chard, cilantro was everywhere.
Nice.
I mean, everywhere. So now you get to see things growing. You get to see them go to flower. You get to see the bees go. You get to taste the seeds that are produced at the end. You taste the cilantro flower. Holy smokes, delicious. I mean, you don't see these things in the marketplace, so you're limiting yourself by not getting more involved. Get as involved as you possibly can as a customer and as a cuisinier.
There's no better way to learn about it than to raise it yourself, whatever it may be.
Immerse yourself in it.
Immerse. All right. This it's kind of kitschy, but it always brings up a wonderful response. Melanie Denea did a book, My Last Supper, and then she did a follow-up, The Next Course. And it was a photo book centered around, chefs and their last meal. And so I ask you, Chef Rick Moonen, what's your last meal?
Well, a traditionalist, so I'm going to start off with seafood and work my way into meat.
Beautiful.
And I don't need dessert in my last meal. I just need to have something that's really high in alcohol and delicious.
Beautiful.
Give me some mezcal.
Nice.
Take that. I love mezcal, nice and smoky. So I'll start off with some oysters because I love oysters, really good oysters, you know.
Yep.
And then I'd probably have some scallops, caviar with it. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's my last meal. You know,
Exactly.
So I'm not footing the bill.
Exactly.
You know, and then I'd like to have squab because it's one of my most delicious. I think it's one of the most delicious birds in the world.
Beautiful.
Or woodcock, which we used to go hunting for. And then, what do I want for an entree? You know what I want? I just want. Depends on the time of year.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of eating beef. I want some game. I want something that's really well prepared. You know, it could be venison. I want some venison.
Oh, like a backstrap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Delicious. Give me a perfectly cooked piece of venison with all the accoutrements, and then give me some port wine, and then some mezcal.
Beautiful.
And then you can all sit down and you can electrocute me.
Beautiful.
I'll smell it, and the room will smell good.
It'll be smoked and re-smoked. There you go. There you go. There you go, Chef. And finally, the last question, the most simple and yet potentially the most complex. What is food to Chef Rick Moonen in one word?
Balance.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, that's one word. I mean, what else are you going to say? Balance. That's the theme of it all.
That's a first, man. 135 episodes in, I don't have to go back to the books to see. That's a first, and I love that. That's so spot on. And I mean, that is it. I mean, a balance between the proteins, a balance between, you know, buying from other sources and making it yourself, and just, but you know, a balance in your knowledge.
We didn't talk about sustainability at all, but that's exactly what sustainability is. It's about balance. It's about appreciating, respecting, making sure that there's enough of a balance for that thing to continue and perpetuate into the future, so we can continuously have a symbiotic relationship. Symbiosis, balance.
Yeah.
Everything, balance. Yeah. Balance of textures, flavors, everything we talked about is about balance.
Well, I don't know. I think that opens the door for interview number 2, Rick. And I'm gonna take full advantage of that opportunity, to be sure. But man, I cannot honestly thank you enough. I know I fanboyed in the intro. I'm gonna fanboy now. Like, you are truly as advertised, and then some. I truly couldn't have imagined you being as true to form as you are, and it is just a freaking honor, straight up and down, man. So thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
It's my pleasure, Shawn. Thank you. And best of luck with Coarse Grind, baby. Coarse Grind.
I appreciate it, man. So Ruby.com, ROUXBE.com for the school, Perry'sRestaurants.com. Check out Fish Without a Doubt on Amazon. Rick is all over the place too, guys. Facebook, Insta, Twitter. He's all over. Be sure to check him out. Again, Chef Rick Moonen, literally living legend. Thank you so much, man. This has been episode number 135 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. Chef Rick Moonen with us this evening. Our producer, as always, has been Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his Cinematic Pig's Feet podcast happenings. And next episode, we're going to be keeping it real. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.